So thank you all for attending. My name is Franklin Odwor. I am an ISO consultant with Valuemax Consulting Limited. So basically, Valuemax Consulting Limited is an ISO management consulting firm, focusing mostly on business advisory and training. We offer ISO consulting services, a majority of them, of course, including the one we are going to be looking at today on the privacy information management systems. We also offer advisory services on strategic planning, project management, and ISO internal audits. So Valuemax Consulting was established in the year 2006. And so that just shows you how many years it has been in operation and the amount of experience it has when it comes to the services that we offer. So yeah, we are committed to, or we are dedicated to providing value-driven professional services to all our clients. And from our missions as being champions of change, we help our clients be able to achieve their goals, of course, through our consulting services. So allow me to briefly introduce the topic today. ISO 27701 is privacy information management systems. It's one of the most popular international standards on privacy. And Victor is going to take us through on the same. So basically, we have tailored the session to suit or to enable it to be beginner friendly. So we are not going to use much of a jargon in the webinar. And in case you have any questions or you are seeking any kind of clarity, you can always unmute, or you can also use the chat box to communicate your queries. So at this juncture, allow me to welcome the speaker for today to proceed. Thank you.
Thank you, Franklin, for the welcome. Kindly confirm I am audible.
Yes, Victor, you are.
Okay. So my name is Victor, and Franklin is my colleague at Valuemax Consulting, and I'm an ISO 27701 Lead Auditor. That is the standard on privacy information management system. So today we are going to look at how this standard it can help your organization comply with privacy laws. And the issue of privacy, it's a very emerging topic and it's a very sensitive topic, especially for Kenya and also East Africa. So I hope you learn a lot in this session. So allow me to share my screen. Franklin, confirm my screen is visible.
Yes, Victor, you can see your screen. Please confirm it's scrolling through. Yes, it's working fine.
Okay. Thank you for that. So the topic is on how ISO 27701 can help organizations comply with privacy laws. And in this session, you will learn about key standards and also the common privacy laws in Kenya, in East Africa, and also around the world, and how this standard can be a competitive advantage for your organization to comply with these privacy laws. So first of all, we start, what is data privacy? Data privacy is the proper handling, processing, and the storage of personal information. The most important thing here is personal information or the private information. The personal information is the information that belongs to a certain individual. So data privacy ensures that these individuals, they have control over their personal information or their personal data. So that's what is data privacy in short words. So here are some of the privacy terminologies or the privacy definitions. we have personal data or personally identifiable information. So basically, this is data that can be linked to a natural person, to a human being. Think about an email address, a phone number, because if I call your phone number, I'll be directly in contact with you. Or the names. Think about your names. It's very rare for a person to have your first name, the same first name, the same middle name, and the same surname. So the names is also a personal data. Or the bank account number, because also you can link a bank account number to a particular person. So that's what is called the personally identifiable information, information that can be linked to a particular person or an individual. Then we have the PII principle or the data subject. Now the PII principle is the natural person to whom this data belongs to. An example is an employee in an organization, in a human resource system, where there is his name, his phone number, his email address, his bank account number to process the salary. That is the data subject in that particular scenario. Or also think in terms of an health facility, a patient listed in an electronic health record or in an electronic health database. The patient who is listed there, with his name, maybe sickness history or his illness history, that is the data subject. And now it is up to the organization to make sure that that data belonging to that PII principle or that data subject it is protected from unauthorized use. Then we have the PII processor or the personal data processor. This is the organization that processes personal data on behalf of the PII controller. So this is a person who processes the data, the personal data on behalf of the PII controller. I'll go back to this. Let me just first explain the PII controller. This is the organizations that collect and determine the purpose for processing of that personal data. An example is an organization which collects the information on employees, the personal data of employees, so as to manage the human resources. That is the PII controller. So we can use an example of organization name, an organization that collects this personal data from employees. Then now with the contractor, a PII processor to process maybe the payroll of this organization name. So organization name is the PII controller because it collects the personal data belonging to the employees. Then now organization B, an organization that is contracted by the PII controller to process data. It can be payroll data, it can be marketing data on behalf of the PII controller. So this means that the PII processor, it acts on behalf or it receives instructions from the PII controller. Organization A has given organization B employee data and it has told it just process the payroll for these employees. So that's the difference between the PII processor and the PII controller. And an organization can be either of these or it can be both of these. An example is if an organization processes data on itself, it does not subcontract a PII processor. That makes it both a PII controller and a PII processor. So that's the difference between these two. Then we have the privacy information management system. So this is a system that encompasses people, processes, and controls that help an organization or a company manage personal data. And that is what we'll be looking at today. how you can set up a privacy information management system to ensure now that your data, the personal data that you process or that you control, is within the privacy laws. So here are some of the data privacy principles. These are the principles that guide the privacy information management system. So one, we have consent and choice. What does this mean? It means that individuals should be informed about how their personal data is collected and used. So in case you collect any personal data of an employee or any person, you should reveal to them how that data will be collected. It can be collected through a form, maybe in the website or a hard copy form. And you should also tell them what will be used, what will be that data be used for. Then we have collection limitation. Personal data should only be used for specified legitimate purposes. So now during this consent and choice, you should inform the data subject, the personal data that you collect from them. How will you use it? So you should collection limitation. An example is if you are processing only the payroll of the employee, you don't need to ask about the details of the sickness history of the employee or data that you might not need to process the payroll for. Then we have the data minimization. You only collect data that is adequate and limited to what is necessary. This is what I was talking about. You only collect data that you need. Let's say you want to access a building and there's a security officer in the ground floor. That security officer should only collect the data that is necessary for that building. So in case it is just for access control, maybe you can just seek the name, the phone number, but you should not seek more details. You should not seek details like the location or what is your parents' name or the amount of money you earn. So the data should be minimized, meaning that you collect data that is adequate, relevant, and limited to what is necessary for the processing of that data. Then we have the use retention and disclosure limitation. So it means that you should only collect for the original purpose and no more than that. If it was just for processing a payroll, that data should not be used for anything else. It should not be used now for marketing a particular product. Or even a security officer collects your details when you're accessing a building, you should not receive marketing emails from that building, because the original purpose for collection of data was just for you to gain entry into that building. So that is the original purpose. And it should only be retained for as long as necessary. So if that data is only needed for that day, it should be disposed after that one day. So we have accuracy and quality, and this comes in when you are collecting that data. It should be accurate and up to date, meaning that it should not be altered. Your name should not be altered from the data that is collected from you. Then we have openness, transparency, and notice. This means that organization should be clear on how personal data is handled. They should be open. They should not hide any illegitimate reasons for processing that data. Then we have the privacy compliance, meaning that organizations should comply with applicable laws and regulations. Like in Kenya, we have the Kenya Data Protection Act. Like in the EU, they have the General Data Protection Regulations. So if you're within those jurisdictions, you should make sure you comply with the laws of that country. And not only the regulations, also your internal policies and procedures. that are specified through the privacy information management system, you should ensure that you comply with all those laws. So those are some of the data privacy principles. We also have individual participation and access, meaning that the owner of the personal data, he or she has the right to access that personal data and also request deletion. In case a person wants his or her data to be deleted from a certain record book or a certain database, he has that right in law. Then we have accountability. The moment you have registered as a data controller or a data processor, you are responsible for complying with these privacy principles that I have stated over here. Then we have information security. This means that personal data must be safeguarded and controls put in place. Remember, there is privacy security and there is information security. So in privacy security is founded on information security, because of course you cannot protect personal data if there is no information security management system in place. So personal data must be safeguarded and controls put in place. So now we have some of the personal, just a moment. Just give me a moment as I work on. Franklin, is my screen visible?
No, it's not visible yet.
Yes, a moment. What about now?
Yes, we can see your screen now.
Okay. So now we have also, now that we talked about the PII controller and the PII processor. These are two different terminologies, but all of them are related to each other because they rely on each other. So for the PII controller, this is the person who, or the organization who decides why and how personal data is processed. Think about an example, company that I was talking about, which collects employees' data upon employing or hiring a new person. So that is the PII controller in this scenario. They decide why and how personal data is processed. So that is company is the PII controller. And the organization, it determines the purpose of processing that information. An example is if company collects employees' data to process payment or for HR purposes. This is the PII controller. And now the PII controller also issues instructions on how this data should be processed. It issues data to the PII processor. And of course, the ultimate or the primary responsibility of this data lies in the PII controller. So in case this data is misused, the liable person will be the PII controller. Why? Because he's the one who collected the data and he's the one who dictated how this person's data should be processed. Then we have the PII processor. This one now acts on the behalf of the PII controller, like company P that I was talking about, preparing the payroll for company A. And now it processes this data with the defined purpose from the controller. So it means that they have a contractual agreement with the PII controller. And the organization follows instructions from the controller. And his responsibility is the secondary responsibility, meaning that if the organization misuses this data, the liable person will be the PII controller. So that's the difference between the controller and the processor. Then now we have also some of the data subject rights. Remember, the data subject is a person who can be linked to the personal data or the owner of the personal data. So the data subject has some rights. So one of the rights is the right of access. So in case you hold any personal data within 30 days, that person has the right to access that data. So the PII control or the processor should provide a mechanism or a way in which this data subject can access his or her own data. Then we have the right to rectification. So in case this data subject has noticed there is an error in this data, you have the right to rectify that data. You also have the right to erase the data in case he or she feels that data is not useful anymore, or he doesn't want it to be processed anymore. He has the right to demand for that data to be deleted. The right to portability, meaning that this data should be in a portable way. It can be downloaded, it can be in hard copy, and it must be free of charge. Then we have right to object, meaning that the data subject can help the processing of the personal data. The right to restrict meaning that the data subject can restrict the amount of personal data that can be processed. So these are some of the data subject rights. So we have now the global privacy landscape. So various countries have established privacy laws. Like in Africa, you can see about 70% of countries there, they have enshrined a privacy law in place. You can see an example of Uganda. They recorded the first criminal conviction in 2025 relating to personal data. So it means there were some persons who were arrested in relation to violating the privacy law of Uganda. Not only Uganda, even in Kenya, there have been cases of people being taken to court because of violating the privacy law. Then we have in Europe, we have something that we call the General Data Protection Regulation, covering European Union and also the United Kingdom. That is so all the countries in Europe, including UK, they have been covered by the General Data Protection Regulation. And you can see they have fined companies 4.5 billion euros since 2018. Then we have in the US or the Americas, we have the US state laws. So they don't have a national law, they just have federal laws in the states, which detect the privacy law per state. Then we have the Asia, 73% of countries, including China, India, Japan, all having comprehensive frameworks. Also in the Middle East, there are privacy laws in place. Okay, so what about Kenya? The Kenya privacy before I go to Kenya, in Africa, you can see also there are some data laws in Africa. In Kenya, we have the Data Protection Act of 2019, with the fine being 5 million or 1% of the organization's turnover. We have in Nigeria, we have the National Data Protection Act that was established in 2023, and now that is it has a 2% turnover. So in case you violate this law, the fine is the 2% of your annual turnover. Then we have in South Africa, we have the Protection of Private Information Act 2020. And now you can see the fine is 10 million South African rands. In Uganda, we have the Data Protection Act 2019, established the same year as Kenya also. And now the fine is 250 million Ugandan shillings, or a 2% turnover. In Rwanda, they have a law, law 058, which is currently under review. So it has not been yet published. In Tanzania, we have the Personal Data Protection Act, the PDPA, with the fine being 5 billion Tanzanian shillings. In Ethiopia, we also have a law. In Morocco, we also have a law, and also many other countries in Africa. So you can see that the privacy regulations, it's an emerging topic, especially in Africa. So in Kenya, we have the Data Protection Act, that is of 2019. That is when this act was enacted. And now this act established the Office of the Data Protection Commissioner. So we have the ODPC, which now implements this law. And now we have the registration. So it's a mandatory registration of data controllers and data processors. And now this mandatory registration is if your annual revenue is above 5 million shillings and you employ more than 10 employees, you should register as a data controller or a data processor. But if you are below these limits, it's not mandatory for you to register as a data processor or a data controller. And also this act also, it borrows from the GDPR, and it also borrows from the data rights that we talked about. The penalties, we have 5 million or 1% of annual turnover, whichever is higher. So in case you are the 1% annual turnover is lower than 5 million, you will be charged these 5 million. And now something to note, this Data Protection Act, it is not only limited to Kenya, to the Kenyan borders. As long as you are an organization processing personal data of Kenyan residents, that means whether you're in South Africa, whether you're in Europe, you should comply with this Data Protection Act. Okay. So as I said before, the data controller and the data processor, in case your revenue is below 5 million shillings and you employ less than 10 employees, you are exempt from a mandatory registration to be a data controller or a data processor. And we also have specific privacy regulations. We have, like, for banking and finance, we have the CBK, Cybersecurity Guidance 2023. This one guides the banks in handling of personal data. Then we have the Capital Markets Authority. We also have their guidelines, 2023 also. We also have the Health Act 2017, guiding hospitals and any health facilities. We also have the Kenya Information and Communications Act, guiding telecommunication company. We also have insurance. For insurance company also, they have their data guidelines from the insurance regulatory authority. Also, we have from the public sector, we have the Data Protection Act that I was talking about. And now this is the overarching act over these others. Okay, so now we'll just give a brief of this standard. Outlining the requirements for a privacy information management system. So this standard, it's a document containing the guidelines or the requirements in case you want to protect the personal data of your employees. What should you do? So this standard contains the guidelines or the requirements for you to have a privacy information management system. What should you do? And now organizations that get this certification, they display commitment to uphold privacy of personal data of clients, employees, and other interested parties. So getting ISO 27701 certified, it's a competitive advantage for your organization since you'll be able to win more tenders, to attract more clients. So there's a business case for you to get ISO 27701 certified. Okay, and as I said, this standard it's a document. And now if you get that standard, it contains these clauses. You can see clause 1 to clause 10. So these are like I can call them topics on this ISO 27701. We have the scope, normative references, terms and definitions. Then now we have from clause 4 to clause 10. These are the requirements of this standard as defined. So we have in clause 4, context of the organization. This just defines requirements for you to know your environment, the privacy environment that you operate in, the internal and external issues. Maybe there's a privacy law in place that you need to comply with. That's why you need to set up a privacy information management system. Then after you have set the context of the organization, is the leadership. The top management has to commit to establish this management system through allocating resources, through assigning the roles and responsibilities. We have leadership. Then we have 6, we have planning. This is where the organization plan for the risks that can occur in case personal data is leaked. Now, such an example of organization that collects employees' data, they should ask itself, in case that employee data is leaked, what are the consequences of that happening? Then we have support. In support, it's basically the organization providing the infrastructure, the technology, or the persons who operate this privacy information management system. Then we have the operation. Now this is where you set the policies and the procedures to support the planning for the risks. Then performance evaluation is just a matter of evaluating this management system, if it's performing according to the expectation that you had. If it's not performing according to the expectations, you improve in clause 10. Then now we also have a section on the PII controller controls and also the PII processor controls. So this standard has defined controls. If you are a PII controller, looking at the risks that can affect the control of personal data, there are controls in place to plan for that. Also for the processor. Okay, so some of the common gaps in complying with the privacy laws that we encounter every now and then. We have organizations collecting data without documented consent, meaning that you collect data from a person and you have not obtained consent from him or her. That's one common gap, and you can be fined by the Kenya Data Protection Act for not collecting consent. You have also another gap in compliance, no process to receive, track, and respond to data subject rights requests. Data subject rights request meaning, an example, if a data subject wants his or her data to be erased, can you formally erase that within 30 days? Processing personal data without registering as a data controller or a data processor. Remember, I said if your turnover is above 5 million and you have more than 10 employees, it's a requirement for you to register as a data controller or a data processor. Another gap in compliance that you see is this role of privacy information being assigned to IT manager, whereas maybe his or her job description does not have that privacy mandate. Or this IT manager does not have training on privacy laws. Or if this IT manager may not be independent from this processing decision, the IT manager might be the one processing the data, and also at the same time is the privacy officer, which cannot work because he will not have independence in that in that scenario. So these are some of the common gaps we encountered during the ISO 27701 implementation. Okay, so now what is the value of getting ISO 27701? Remember, this is just not only a certificate, it's a demonstration of trust with clients, partners, and stakeholders. If you get ISO 27701 certified, you are able to build trust with clients. Clients or partners, they know that their personal data is protected from unauthorized disclosure. Also, you are able to meet the requirements of the Data Protection Act, like the Kenya Data Protection Act, the Uganda National Data Protection Act, or the GDPR. Remember, these ISO 27701, it borrows from these laws, including the Kenya Data Protection. Also, we have the clear processes for handling and processing personal data. Remember, as I said, a teams is made up of people, processes, and also technology. So once you establish that management system, we'll have clear processes for handling the personal data. It's also a very big competitive advantage. It's easier for you to win tenders, especially from the government. It's easier for you to win tenders once you have this ISO 27701 certification. Also remember, it's an investment with a long-term return on investment. The cost of non-compliance, remember, the fines, penalties, and legal sanctions. Remember, like I said, in Kenya, there's a fine of 5 million if you don't comply with that law. So by establishing up teams, you are able to comply with these laws. The laws of customer trust. In case you don't comply with those laws or you don't establish appeals, you are suspect to lose customer trust and also damage the reputation of your brand. Also, unclear processes. In case you don't comply with that, there are unclear processes for handling personal data. There's no structure in managing the personal data. Also, there is the high cost from fines lawsuits. You can imagine if you are fined 5 million for 1% of your annual turnover. That's a big cost for your organization. So there's value in getting ISO 27701 certified. And that's why Valuemax, we are here to guide you on getting ISO 27701 certified. So what is the process for getting ISO certified? This is the process. I have illustrated it here in a chart. It's a process that takes about 3 to 6 months for you to get ISO certified. I'll just run through the activities quickly. The activity, once now you contact Valuemax for you to get ISO 27701 certified. You first hold an inception meeting to understand the organization, what you do, and some of the processes that you have in place. We also have an introductory training session on this standard. Also, we have the process mapping. We map this process for the privacy information management system. So it should be PIMS, not ISMS, for the privacy information management system. That is the inception stage. Then now in the implementation stage is now where we do the bulk of the work. We start off with a risk assessment and the risk register, we plan for the risks. Remember clause 6, as I said. After we plan for the risks, we are able to establish processes to control these risks. So we have the process mapping or mapping of the processes and the procedures. After we map those processes, now the organization has to review those procedures if they are fit for purpose. Then after we review those procedures, we now have the final drafts. Then we conduct the internal audit. After we conduct the internal audit, we follow up on any issues identified in the internal audit. After now we do that, now you are ready for certification. So we invite a certification body, which is Accurate Global, for you to get ISO 27701 certified. So it takes about 3 to 6 months. But of course, as Valuemax, we'll guide you through this process to ensure that you get ISO 27701 certified without minimal non-conformities or any issues. So briefly, that was the brief on the privacy information management system, the processes in place, and how this privacy information management system, it helps you comply with the data protection regulations. So thank you for your participation. And now these are our contact details. So I'll hand over to the moderator for the Q&A session. So in case there's any question, please feel free to ask in the comment box, or also unmute your mic. Franklin, over to you.
All right. Thank you, Victor, for the presentation. I believe we've all gained a lot of value from the knowledge that Victor has shared with us. My key takeaways from the session, of course, was that how important the privacy information management system is. This one, as an organization, when you implement the privacy information management system, you'll be able to do away with risks in data breaches. You'll also be able to build customer trust. And most of all, you'll be able to comply with the privacy laws. That is the Data Protection Act for the Kenyan businesses. And of course, for the other jurisdictions, there are other laws that govern privacy. So also on the personally identifiable information, you have to understand, also my key takeaways was that as an individual, your name, your email address, the one you use to sign into the webinar, is personally identified information. And you as an employee of an organization are also a data subject. So Victor had mentioned on the PII controllers and the personally identifiable information processors. So you as a data subject, that is an employee in your organization, you are a PII controller because you have legal rights in deciding how your data is going to be used. That is your name, your social security numbers like NSSF, the SHA, and your company as the PII processor is able to process or use your data based on what the conditions you have set. So allow me at this moment to welcome any queries from your end. If you have any questions, feel free to unmute and we'll be able to respond. And also, if we have the chat box, you can share any queries that you have with us. We'll gladly assist on any matters that you address. Thank you. Let's take the next 5 minutes for this session. Okay, I'm seeing there's a question in the chat box from Stacy. Which certified bodies handle or give certificates for ISO 27700? Okay. there's a typo, but yeah, on the privacy information management systems. I'll allow Victor to answer on that. Thank you.
Kindly, Franklin, repeat the question.
All right. It's a question from Stacy. She's asking that which certified bodies handle or give certificates for the privacy information management system.
Okay, understood. Stacy, thank you for that question. So now for the certified, you are talking about certification bodies. Yeah, so there are many. It's not only one certification body that gives certificates for ISO 27701. There are hundreds of them that give this certification. And now as Valuemax, we deal with a company called Accurate Global, meaning that they can give a certificate in Kenya, in Uganda, and also in some countries in Africa. So there are hundreds of certification bodies. But now as Valuemax, we deal with a certification body called Accurate Global. So there are many certification bodies that do so.
All right. Thank you, Victor, for that. I believe, Stacy, you have been answered. Thank you for your reaction. So on to the next one. We have another question from Barbara. And the question is, does the certification also take into consideration how the organization can be able to comply with other data protection laws in other jurisdictions like the EU and UK? That is the GDPR, of course. Victor, you can also take this one.
Okay, so as I said earlier before, remember the EU and UK GDPR is the global benchmark for the privacy information management system, meaning that even ISO 27701 standard, it has borrowed most of its principles from this general data protection regulation. Even the Uganda Data Protection Act, it has borrowed most of its principles from the general data protection regulation. And if you look at that standard, the ISO 27701 in Annex C, it has mapping to the GDPR regulation. So once you get ISO 27701 certified, it's easier for you to get certified for the general data protection regulation, since that standard borrows from the ISO 27701 borrows from the GDPR. So yes, you are able to comply with those laws.
All right. Thank you, Victor, for your response. I hope, Barbara, you are satisfied with the answer. Thank you for your reaction. If we have any questions, feel free to unmute your mic and pose your question. And also, we still have the chat box. You can go ahead and communicate your question. Okay, as you send in your questions, allow me to, we have a poll. We can take maybe the next few minutes to fill it. So at the moment we have a poll, I'd encourage each and every one of you to help us in filling the poll, and let's share your views on how the webinar has been, and also maybe on the challenges that you're facing, or what maybe is not, what is not allowing your organization to be able to implement this standard That is the Privacy Information Management System. Okay, I'm seeing there's another question from Kevin. He's asking how ISO 27701 relates to IT operations on a day-to-day aspect. That's a good question, Kevin. Allow me to address it to Victor. Victor, please take this one as well.
Okay. So it's from Kipiegon. You're asking about how 27701 relates to IT operation. Remember, as I stated earlier before, this standard. So there's privacy information, privacy information security, and also there's information security. One dealing with privacy information, and the other dealing with general information. So this standard, it relates to IT operations because you cannot claim to have privacy information security if you don't have information security. So information security first has to be there because if you think about it, the personal data is part of the larger information. It's a subset of the information in your organization. So if you have not protected the information in your organization, you cannot claim only to protect the personal data. So this ISO 27701, it has to be founded upon information security, meaning that you have to have information security first. Then now, once you have information security, you can further control or protect the personal data. And remember, to protect that personal data, you need some IT operations, including the technology, the processes in place. So yes, ISO 27701, it relates to IT operations in that way because it is founded upon information security.
Right. Thank you, Victor, for your response. Kevin, I hope you are satisfied with the answer. You can respond or react just to let us know. Yes, Stacy, we'll share the presentation via email after the webinar. Yes. All right. Thank you. So yeah, we still have the poll going on. Yeah, if you have not shared your views, kindly do so. All right, Kevin, thank you for your response. I'm glad that you are satisfied with the answer Victor has given.
Okay. Yes, David, it's true. So first implement information security first, then now you can implement privacy security. Because as I said, personal data is a subset of the information. So first you have to protect the information, and then now you can further protect the personal data. So yeah. And also to add on what Barb asked about GDPR regulations, if you go to page 53 of the standard, Annex D, it's written mapping to the general data protection regulation. I hope you can see my screen. Franklin, is my screen visible?
Yes, it is.
Okay. So as I was saying, if you look at Annex D, it's mapping to the general data protection regulation, meaning that this standard has borrowed from the GDPR. And you can see the relevant GDPR article, and you can see how it relates to this standard. Yeah, so it was just to add upon what I had informed Barbara.
All right, thank you for that, Victor. Currently, allow me to briefly share a profile for our company, Valuemax Consulting Limited. Victor, kindly confirm that my screen is visible.
Yes, it is.
All right, thank you for that. So I'll briefly highlight on our company, Valuemax Consulting Limited. So as I had mentioned earlier, we are a business advisory and training firm, and we offer value-driven professional services to our clients. So first of all, a message that we give to our clients is that they are our hero. And why is this? This is because you have invested a lot of resources, including money, time, and also showing your commitment to attending this webinar is also an investment from your end. Of course, you have invested your time to get to know about the privacy information management systems, and we look forward to also seeing you in other webinars as well. So how do you consolidate your success so far and align our process? And also, we also get to understand your challenges about the processes, the procedures, policies, systems, including the alignment to strategy and regulations. So this is just a brief of what also we have covered here on understanding the client's needs, on the processes, the policies that you need to comply with in order to ensure that you have smooth operations within your company, and also when in achieving, and also be able to achieve success. So one question you need to ask yourself is that are your processes and systems delivering your mission? Every business or organization has an intent as to why they're in business or in operation. And so our role as Valuemax is to help or to be there to offer advisory to help you enable you achieve smooth operations within your organizations. We will help streamline your processes, your policies, because we understand that, yes, you might have these processes, but are they in line with what the government requires you? Like, for example, on the Data Protection Act that we have touched on for the privacy information management systems, also on the GDPR, like on the laws that govern your organizations and the policies that you have enacted, are they in line with the international laws and the national laws as well? So what we believe in and our values on integrity, we offer confidential advice that serves your interest and act in an honest, fair, with ethical standards. We are also a team of competent individuals, and we offer the best possible advice and support for our clients to achieve their full potentials. And on teamwork, we share a common goal in helping our clients succeed. And we believe that together with clients, we are a team. And also one of our values, also the other value is innovation, where we help develop our creative solutions. By understanding the client's needs, assessing your skills and the gaps within your organizations, we are able to come up with solutions that are tailored to suit your mode of operation and the business model. Also, I mentioned earlier that we are champions of change. We help the client come up with new ideas. We help you improve your systems. We also enable you to have alternative approaches to how you handle your problems or challenges. and also to be able to think differently and strategically when it comes to achieving your objectives. And what is our vision as an organization? We are committed to delivering organizational excellence, and we aspire to become a top consulting firm recognized for excellence across Africa. So what are some of our services as Valuemax Consulting Limited? We have ISO standards. This is guiding you, the client, on implementation and certification. We have the standards on quality management systems, environmental management systems, occupational health and safety, among others, such as the one we have mentioned today on the privacy information management systems. So we guide the client on all the way from implementation to certification, as Victor or the speaker had mentioned on the chat, of course. And also we offer ISO internal audits and reviews of management systems. And then on our advisory services, we offer strategic planning, project management using Valuemax. We also help you set up and train you on Zoho projects. We offer transactional advisory, and in case the client needs training on the above areas, we also do that. Our business approach, we follow a 5-step business approach in all our engagements. We first of all understand the client's needs, because we understand that every business environment is different. That is from manufacturing, finance, industries in IT. We have to understand the relevant technicalities of the business, and also the challenges that the client faces before we can proceed to offering solutions. In this way, we have to agree, of course, on the objectives and the deliverables, after which we develop an action plan, of course, in consultation with the client to understand the direction they want to take. And then also after that, we implement the plan. We discuss the findings with the client, evaluate options, and then learn from and document the new approach. These are some of the clients we've served, ranging from Kenya. We have served clients here in the East African region from Kenya, Uganda, Tanzania. We also have clients in Somalia and Djibouti. And as I had mentioned earlier, we are keen on exploring and increasing our client base all across Africa. For our team, we are passionate about business and consulting work. We are disciplined to listen and serve the client. And we also have the necessary credentials when it comes to practicing. We have graduates who hold MBAs, BCom, and also have undertaken the necessary ISO training from credible institutions. Then we also have, they have also taken up local and international training, and we have experience working in Kenya and other countries, as I had mentioned, Rwanda, Djibouti, UAE, Tanzania, as well as Somalia. And for our partners, as Victor had mentioned, we have Accurate Global, which is an ISO certification body based in the USA. We are the official representatives here in Kenya and East Africa. And this is the body we use to satisfy our clients. Then we also have a partner, Valuemax. This is an all-in-one project management software, and Valuemax is a certified implementation partner in Eastern Africa. We also have Zoho. We are a trusted Zoho projects partner, and we assist you in integrating Zoho projects into your processes seamlessly. So what are the next steps? We want to know you. You want to know what you do, your processes, your challenges in relation to our services. We will then prepare a proposal detailing what we will do, and as well as the fee that we'll charge in the process. Then we'll also have to discuss and agree on a plan, then of our contract. So I've come to the end, and this is a brief of where we are located. It also has a link to our website. and an info. Sorry about that. So as I was mentioning, this is a brief of where we're located and the address. We have our website in display as well as our email. For any queries, you can always reach out to us and we'll be glad to assist. So at this juncture, allow me to thank you all for being part of the session. We appreciate you for taking the time to be part of this. And of course, the webinar presentation slides will be shared with you via email before close of business today. And maybe I'll just allow if you have anything to say or a vote of thanks before we can commence. But for now, you can leave at your own pleasure. Thank you.
Okay, thank you everyone for joining.